Okay. Doing a little simple flying ant. Real simple fly to tie. Productive, especially in hot days. Go. Let's run down what we're using. Size 10 dry fly hook. Black dubbing. Black thread. Also got some black hackle we're going to be working with. But I accidentally put it away. So here it is. We got some black hackle we're going to be working with. We also are going to be running with some red wings. This is why I always tell everybody to save your tips from your hackle when you're tying flies. These red will come in perfect for a dry fly ant. Yellow, I just did a bumblebee, worked perfect. So let's get started. I'm gonna put on our size 10 dry fly. You can even use the dry flies that are like a little streamer. They look like more like a streamer shape. They work really well. I just don't, I have some, just not the size I like. So we'll go with this one. It'll still work well. Tie in, get your base going. I'm not as OCD about my base with this type of a fly because I know I'm going to be adding a bunch of dubbing to build up the body. So not overly worried about it. All right, we start wrapping around that hook. Yeah, I would say about a third of the way, 2/3 of the way maybe down to the halfway mark of the hook. Start wrapping around back up. Okay. It's a real simple fly. It's really productive, especially for beginning fishermen. It's also pretty simple to tie for beginning fly tyers. So there we go. All right. Now we just pull out some black dubbing. I have some kind of weird looking dubbing. Strip it down. All right. I just add some saliva in and start tying it in. I always start it really thin. I don't want it to be too bulky in the beginning. I want to be able to really control where I put that dubbing. I start wrapping back towards the back of the hook. And this is where I really want it to be thin, so when I get to the back of the hook, it comes down to a point and it's not super thick right here. And start coming back up. Oop. There's a little bit of the barb. Don't look good. Start tying it in. Add some more saliva so it kind of stays a little together, doesn't completely come apart. Okay. And just add in more dubbing as you go, the more you need it. You can see as I'm building that back of that ant up, you start to get the hind end of it. As I come back down towards the end, take a little more time so I can get that round body look that an ant has. All right, and just keep putting in dubbing as you need it. One stuff that kind of I don't really like about this dubbing is it's a little, sticks out a lot, works really well for your wet flies and things like that, but it's not giving me that solid body look that I exactly like, but I'll be able to fix that here in a little bit. So I tie it forward some, make sure you get that nice round oval body look that those flying ants have. Keep adding in dubbing. Don't be afraid to use a lot of dubbing on this. You want this fly to float easily. Okay, so now I got that nice round body shape in there. This is where I'm gonna tie in my my wings here. So reach down, grab yourself 2 of those tips that you've saved from other fly tying things you've done. Kind of measure it out so you can get it where you want it. Make sure you strip it back. And I always make them a little bit long. I exaggerate them a little bit. I know you can always pinch them down later and cut them off in the field, but I like to always exaggerate certain things like tails and wings. I feel like it helps sometimes. And then I always know I can cut it down later if need be when I'm in the field. So tie this on one side. And don't get too crazy with your wrapping right now, because you're gonna have to put in the hackle and stuff and it'll all kind of tie itself in. So don't get too crazy. Get another one, make sure they're even in length. Peel back what you need. Double check they're even. Go ahead and tie it on in. Make sure it lands on the other side of that hook. Bam. Okay. Now we're going to go ahead and take our black hackle piece. I'm going to tie this one in. And I kind of try to get a somewhat thin one here, not too thin, but not overly wide feather. So even that I feel like is a little too wide, but we're gonna rock with it. Okay, make sure you trim your hackle back so you have a nice piece of the spine to tie down on. Lay the spine on top of the hook. Go ahead and tie it in. I like to lay it on top of the hook. That way it doesn't overweight one side of the fly. I put one spine of this on the side of the wing on the side of the hook, and one spine over here on the side of the hook. That kind of weights it evenly. So I put this one directly on top, so it kind of gives it a good even weight. Then we're gonna go ahead and wrap it on in. And I tend to go pretty heavy on my hackle. Oops, I dropped it. Okay, just so you know, start at the back end and make sure your spine's wrapped forward. That way you're not pushing little feathers everywhere, little hairs every direction. Okay, that's about what you need there. Drop it on in and tie off. And you got some hackle left over for another one. One thing I never do is I never throw away any hackle. I save everything I'm using, so all those pieces will get reused. And I never tie one fly. If I'm gonna tie flies, I'll tie like 3 of these. That way if I go out there and it's working and I lose one, I don't only have one. It's kind of just a good rule always to tie about 3 of whatever pattern you're tying. So I know you guys won't see me doing that on here, as it gets a little redundant, but I will. See these little fibers that are sticking off the front right there? That's just horrible. I can't be having that. So get up in there, make sure you snip those down before you start putting in more dubbing. So now we got our back, we got our 2 wings in there. As you can see, the wings kind of floating off each side. So generally they go more straight down the back, but I like to over exaggerate that so it looks like it's kind of laid out on the water, almost like a dead one if you see a dead one floating. So now that we're there, we're gonna go ahead and add in more dubbing. Now we're gonna do the front segment, thorax of this flying ant here. Back to the thorax. And just working another big old circle right there. Got a little bit of dubbing left, so I'm gonna go ahead and wrap that up in there. Maybe you decided to push it a little much with that dubbing. All right. You can see I got those 2 big distinct body segments. I got the flying wings in there. You don't have to have the wings. I don't really fish ants. Ants are real simple to tie. Just 2 big back bodies like that without the wings. I tend to not use ants very much, only when they're flying ants are hatching up here where I live in Feather River. They are popping out like crazy. Hey, I'm about to end this here real soon, but if any of you guys are still watching, for those that are watching, if when I get off, if you could put in the comments whether the comments work during its live or not, because I can't figure this out. I'd really appreciate that. Trying to get this channel kind of going, some more different avenues, different ways, and but I hope you guys like what I'm doing. Always hit this with a little hardener when you're done, you know, and then kind of even up. You see those 2 big distinct bodies, big red wings. You can always trim down after it lands in the water. Looks kind of like a splayed out fly with or ant with its wings splayed out. I think it looks really good like that. But also, if you're going to comment, put down in the comments where you're from, where your hometown waters are. Always like to see that stuff, and appreciate you guys watching. And again, I appreciate it if you put a comment in there. Let me know if the comments work when I'm live. All right, guys, headed out. Get out there fishing. Go on ahead and get after them.